Hi, and welcome to my first video. In this video, I'll walk you through how to install a Checkpoint management server and a Checkpoint gateway. Tie those two together and make the first initial rules so that the client PC can reach the internet. As a preparation, I have made up this domain controller and I have installed this client. The domain controller is running Windows 2012 R2 and the client is a Windows 10 machine. We are going to run up the firewall management server and the firewall gateway. I have already chosen the IP addresses for those two, so you can see here the gateway. The management server will have this IP address and the gateway will have this IP address as the internal address and this as the external address. On the external network there is a DSL router pointing towards the internet, so we will use that as the default gateway for the firewall. This internal network is an host-only network inside the VMware workstation, where all of this is running. So let's start and fire up the management server. I have made an empty virtual machine and assigned the network and attached the Checkpoint installation ISO, which is an R80. So let's power this on. And we select that we will install Gaia on this system. While this is loading the installation drivers and that kind of stuff, let's just start the gateway installation as well. In this, I have made the two network adapters. I have assigned the hard drive and the ISO file, which is an R77.30, which is the latest gateway at this moment. So let's just launch this machine so it can load while we do the other thing. So install Gaia. Let's go back to the management server. Just say OK. I'm a Danish guy, so I'll select the Danish keyboard. On the management server, you need to have as much log space as possible. In this demo environment, I have only assigned an 80 gig disk to this one. Please remember that the log disk is highly intensive in I/O, so I would definitely recommend that you use some kind of solid state which is fast, because that will be more easy when you have to manage a large environment. But in this case we can make it 20 gig and we just say OK. Then we have to choose the admin password. In this demo I will use cptest12. Okay. Then we have to enter the IP address of the management server, and it should be 10.2 according to the drawing. And the gateway of this will be the firewall. So I select the internal and OK, and we just say OK, and now the installation will start. While this is installing and formatting file systems and all kind of stuff, let's go to the firewall. Okay. And here I have assigned a 30 gig disk. I think 2 gigs is a little bit short for log space, so let's take 8. Yeah. In a real world live environment, you might continue using a bigger disk, but this is only for demo, so it should be okay. And again, the admin password, and I will choose the same one. And here we select the interface that points internal, and that should be the first one I put in, so it should be this one, and it should be 10.1, and it should have no default gateway on that one. And okay, the other interface we will enter when we go to the last part of the configuration. So let's see how long the management server has come. It's almost there. And you can see now the management server is booting, and when it comes up, we will do the first time wizard on that one, which is done through a web browser from the client PC. So let's go to the client PC, and we take a web browser. And enter the IP address of the management server. So we go to the IP address of the management server. The first time I have this up. So, and we log in as admin, and the password we gave on the installation, which is cp test12. Next, continue with R80. This one should be okay. Then we enter the name of the management server, which is fw-admin. The domain, in this case, it's my initials, .local. And of course the DNS server is the domain controller, which should be 10.10. You can see here. Let's see, this should be okay. Use security gateway and our management server, and we select this because we are not going to run multi-domain server. Security manager, and this is the primary, and this is just next. Here we can define an administrator for the management software. We just continue with admin. Here you can decide if you want to limit which clients that are able to connect to the management server. In a real world environment, I would strongly suggest that you only select your network where you have your admin servers on. But in this, we just select any IP, so we don't have too much limitation to worry about. And then you can always uncheck if you don't want to send data back to Checkpoint for debugging. Just click Finish, and yes. Now the gateway is ready for reboot. And when this has started up, we want to do the first time wizard on this one as well. So now that's ready. So just take another tab here, and then that should be 1. And we log on using admin and the password, which was cptest12. Next, continue with R77.30 configuration. Next. This is the IP address we have entered manual. It is okay. We don't have a gateway because the gateway should be on the external address, and we will set that later on. This, at the moment, we will not configure this. That will be done through the GAIA portal later. We change the name of it, and in this case it is the FW1 for firewall 1, domain, and again put in the DNS server. This should be okay. In a real world production, you will have to configure NTP, but I don't have any NTP server running inside my test network here. So, but please configure it in the real world live environment. This is a gateway or management server again, and now it is important that you uncheck the security manager, because this one we don't want to have the management functionality on. We only want to have gateway, and at the moment this is not a part of a cluster, so we will not select cluster XL. And this does not have any dynamic IP address assigned. Then this one is actually quite important step. Here you enter an activation key, which is used when you have to connect the management server and the firewall together. And this is a one-time key you use, which is then changed to a certificate internal. And for the easy part here, we use the same as the admin password. But please use something more strong than that. And finish. Yes. And this is almost finished. While this is finishing, on my client PC I have installed the Checkpoint SmartConsole R80, and that is ready for connecting to the management server for the first time. It was just like next in the installation, so I'll not walk that path through here. Now the gateway will reboot, and when it comes up again, it will be ready to log into and add the external interface, so we can set that up. And see that it is rebooting again. now the gateway is ready, and let's go back to the portal here. You can always if you want to send, it says send device data to helpers, blah blah. Yeah, why not? Here you can see that the gateway is running R77.30. It is running 32 bits. That we are going to change because we want to run it as a 64-bit. And then the gateway will reboot. Yes. Let's see if this is quite slow today. And the gateway should be back in just a few seconds. So now the gateway is running 64-bit. Let's go to the menu here with network interfaces. And here you can see we have one more interface which is down at the moment. That one we need to configure with the external interface. Remember to enable it and give it the external IP address. In this case, okay. So now we have the two interfaces. Now we go to IPv4 static routes. And the default route, there's none. We have to edit that. And add the gateway. And save. So now the gateway is ready. Let's hope that the management server is still slow. I'll be back when this is finished and we are ready to launch the management client for the first time and connect to this one. Actually, it was a little bit faster than I thought, so here we are. And it is already running 64-bit. So we have here the management server, and the username is admin, password cptest12, and the server IP address is the IP address of the management server. You can always put it inside DNS, so you can use a nicely DNS name instead of just using IP addresses. We select login. Here you have to trust the fingerprint of the management server. So we proceed. Okay, we were a little bit too fast here. Just give it a few moments to settle. Let's see if it's up and ready now. So as initializing. Sorry. Let's see if it's ready now. Still initializing. So that's ready. So you can see it has added itself. It should have changed the name. We'll look at that later why it didn't change the name. But for now we will let it be. You can see it's open server hardware. This is the only thing there is there at the moment. Over here we have network objects where we can create network objects. It has already created some network objects like the default office mode address it takes here, some address ranges. You can see there are two addresses. It says all internet, which is all IP address, and it says local machine loopback address, which is the loopback address it has chosen. Some dynamic objects. We can see the DMZnet, local machines, and kind of stuff. at the moment we need to add another gateway, and we need to add some policies. You can see here the security policy should be mostly empty. Actually, it has only done the cleanup rule. This rule is one of the most important rules of them all. This one always has to be the last rule, and any traffic that does not match any other rule will always match this rule and then get dropped. And it is crucial that it is in the bottom, because the rule is processed from the top down. So if this one is the first one, it will stop processing any rules. When it hits this, all traffic will always match this one. So let's see if we can add a new gateway. You can see the default here, so we say new. Let's see. New gateway, and I prefer the classic mode. The name is FW1. Then we use the external address of the gateway here, which is 192.168.1.2. And then in this name already used, reserved name, my fault. Let me say communication. And here we enter the SIG that we entered inside the first time wizard, which is CP test 1.2, CP test 1.2. And when we click initialize, it should initialize. It says trust established. Okay. Now you can see that it will automatically download the interfaces. We can see here that it is running on open server hardware. We can see the version and that it is running Gaia. Here you can see the software blades, and at the moment we will only select the firewall blade. We are going to enable the other blades later on. We have the network management. You can see here you have the two interfaces, and it says this network for this one as a topology, and this one is it thinks that it is the external network, which it actually is in this case. That can be edited if we want to. So we can add see the IP address. We can modify the topology if you have multiple networks that is behind this address, or you have a router someplace in your network. Then make a group and add all the internal network and add this to this interface so that the topology is correct, because the topology is used in anti-spoofing rules. And we let all of this be at the for now. The log server will be the management server, so it sends the log to this local machine. Okay. So now we have this new object, and there it is. It is an open server R77.30. So now let's see if we can make the rule that allows us to serve the internet. First of all, we need to add a rule above this, new rule above, and we could call it DNS. We need the domain controller to be able to go to the internet to do DNS lookup. It is important that you choose a name of the rules, because later on when we are going to work with the compliance blade, this is one of the things that is necessary, that all rules should have names so they are easy to identify. We select the source, and we don't have added the domain controller yet, so we will add that. New host. We call it DC1. And the IP address of the domain controller. Actually, we should be able to just do this because we have entered the DNS and the DC1 is one of the DNS. Network management. We don't have anything to do here. Net, we want to hide this behind something else, so we hide it. In this case, we hide it behind the gateway. And we select which gateway we want to install this on. In my opinion, always choose on which gateway you want to install it. And it is quite important later on when you have multiple gateways that you are sure that this net rule is only active on this gateway, for instance. So now we have source domain controller. Destination any is okay because then it is allowed. VPN any, we don't have any VPN at the moment. Services and application. In this case we select DNS. And the action is accept. Track. We want to log it. We want to log everything. And again, installed on. This is also very important. We really need to know which gateway each rule is installed on. So that when you have, again, when you have multiple gateways and many rules, it is very important that you know that this rule is installed on this gateway, and then it is not active on other gateways. Or else you might quite easily may get in a situation where you have a lot of rules that are working in ways that they shouldn't, because if you don't have control on which gateway they are installed on. Then we add a new rule. Below this, we can call it client to internet. And in this case, we select and create our client. Client PC. That is not in DNS, but this is the IP address of the client PC, and again, net, automatically we want to hide behind the gateway address. And again, we select the gateway. Destination any, and here we select that the services we want to use towards the internet, and it is a good idea only to open for those services and those applications that you need. In this case, we want to only to open for HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS. We want to accept it, and we want to log it, and we want to install it on the firewall. And the cleanup rule, it is also a very good idea to log that, because then we know and can see in the log management which things are being blocked. So when we are in a debug situation, we don't understand why this traffic is not coming through. We can see the drop packages in the log, and then we can work with it and see that that should be allowed. So this should be okay, and now we should be able to install the policy. Session name. Here it will review the changes. You can see, so we select publish and install. And you can see here access, you can select what you want to install on it, and we want to install on this one. And you can review the changes if you want to, but you just want to install it. While this is installing, we can have a look at the net rules. We selected that we wanted to create two network objects, and we want to add net rules from it. And you can see here that they have been automatically generated using the client PC at any. You can see that it is a client PC that is hiding, and here we have a hiding, and you can see on which gateway it is installed. So now we should be able to go to the internet from this one, and let's see. If it is working. And it doesn't look like that. So let's go back to the rule set and go to the log monitoring page to see if we can see why the traffic is blocked or what is blocked. We could see that the domain controller is actually doing the DNS lookup. So let's see, it might be that it was just slow. We do get DNS through, so it should be working. This one here makes the rule set to refresh. You can see that we are getting blocked on HTTP. So let's see why we are blocked on HTTP. .20. You can see here I have made an error on this client here, so let's edit that. I missed it too. So you can see that the log file is actually quite good in debugging it, and install the policy again. Now we should be able to go to Google. Yeah, it came. And we can see if we can go to Checkpoint homepage. And yes. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope it gets you inspired on how to get started working with the Checkpoint firewall. I'll be back with more videos. Thanks for now.